Yo, Elliot! So I got this question from our buddy who's having shoulder pain when doing dumbbell rows. So he's been bodybuilding for about a year. Recently he's doing dumbbell rows, but he no longer feels it in his lats and his bicep and the muscles that generally you're gonna feel it in when you do rows. He feels it in the front of his shoulder. And he's like, I think my form's good. I've been doing it for years. All of a sudden now, instead of feeling it in my back, I just feel this pain right in my shoulder. He's wondering, what the hell's going on here? So I'm gonna give you a little bit of an idea as to what's going on, then I'll give you a suggestion. Number one, although you may be performing the exercise properly, you probably also are doing a shitload of pressing, right? So bench presses, incline presses, a lot of chest exercises. What tends to happen is because we are, the body wants to move into the position of least resistance. And the position of least resistance is flexion. You know, it's where we come from. Look at a baby in the womb. It's flexed over. This is our fetal position, is our natural positioning. When I say natural, I mean that's where we come from. So it's natural that's why people's posture gets really poor when they're through bad habits and laziness. We move back into the fetal position. Now, you go to the gym and you're doing lots of presses, you're doing lots of flies, incline presses, things of this nature that further facilitate that movement, flexion. And usually what ends up happening is guys train the front part of their body way more than they train the back. I'm not saying you don't train your back. I'm not saying you don't train for thoracic extension, right? Hopefully you do. Most people don't. They think they're training their back, but they're pulling shit and it's in a dysfunctional way. And that's why, I guarantee you're pulling with in a very dysfunctional way. There's some flexion going on there when you pull the dumbbell. And it comes from that imbalance of flexion to extension, right? You're flexing too much as opposed to extending, thoracic extension when you row, or when you do chin-ups, or when you do basically anything. If you're doing back exercises, any back exercise, any kind of rows or pull-ups, and you're flexing anywhere in the movement, which looks like this, right? You shrug up and you round forward, anywhere. Like when you're doing rows, if this is happening, boom, you're really not training your back properly. You're not training it the way it's supposed to be used. It should be trained. You're further facilitating the imbalance of flexion to extension. So you end up fucking up your shoulder. So what do? Well, besides corrective stretching, before you do your rows, stretch your pecs. Stretch your pecs and stretch your neck. That might alone support you. And I've showed you how to stretch the pec against the wall, boom, look it up. Stretch your upper trapezius, stretch these muscles and these muscles before you do rows. That might help, but if the pattern is so firmly ingrained that those muscles jump right back into excitation when you do the rows, what I would invite you to do is to take your hand, so if you normally row like this, row like this. Supination is coupled with thoracic extension. Just do this. Open up your hands and look what happens. You go from flexion to extension, right? So to support full extension, do it with your palms up, supination. So when you're doing barbell rows, palms up. Even when you do dumbbell rows, I'd probably switch to barbell rows for a little while because it's going to force you, because you got one straight bar. There's no room for play, and focus on with your palms up and pull it right up into your rib cage. Really pick your chest up. Really drive your shoulder blades down and together, and that's going to help correct this imbalance that's causing you to have shoulder pain when you row. Done. Yo, Elliot.